think, people had the break.
Mm.
They were enjoying not having to listen to me talk.
No,
And
don't
so
say that.
now that we have class, they're like, I think there's something I'm supposed to be doing today.
Yeah, because in the first week we just got back. A lot of people still have the work.
Yeah.
done, and
Yeah.
then we need to finish.
Yeah. Or jet lag, or if they went anywhere,
They're
So.
coming, they're coming.
Okay. So today we're not going to use the books though, so it's okay. I wanted to do something different for the first couple classes. You actually came? No, I'm giving you a hard time. Nicole, could you sign in? So I want to do something different for the first part because business writing sometimes is boring, right? So it's very professional, very dry. It's the way that you talk to people in the workplace. It's not really real writing. It's very formal writing. So I wanted to do something to allow you to work on just a little bit of creativity, to work on writing, but work on writing in a regular sort of setting. So we're going to do some creative writing, okay? So you'll get those creative juices going in the head and thinking about things, but a little bit of fun in the new year as well. And then this will also allow me to kind of see where your writing has moved, if it's moved at all from the first email that you wrote. And then I'll also have you write another email, business-like, so I can see that as well and do a little bit of evaluation. But for this, it's a free writing exercise. So you don't have to pay me any money, it's free. No. What I mean by free writing is you can write about anything, okay? And it will be a paired exercise. We have an odd number right now, but we're going to be doing this over a few classes. So it'll be okay if, not everyone's here today, but, we have a full classroom right now. So, but then you're going to work together to be creative and come up with a story of some sort, okay? Don't stress about grammar, all right? And we're going to work to improve your writing. So we're going to do corrections. We'll do some brainstorming today, so thinking about ideas, writing down our ideas. Then we're going to do our first draft, which is writing the first, story. Then we're going to do corrections of it. Then we're going to do a final draft. Okay, so this will be something that we're doing in steps. So then it's not taking you completely away from the writing part, the learning about writing, but it will give you the chance to kind of practice revision. So when you're writing an email, a really important email, this will give you a chance that you can look at revision and look at grammar, and then when you go through your own long emails, you can look at that. Plus, also, it's fun. Give you a little bit of something that's more fun than the boring email writing that I'm always hammering away at, okay? So, like I said, business writing can be a little bit boring sometimes, okay? So the topics that I'll have you choose from would be maybe either a real event that happened to you, happened to one of you, because it's pair writing, right? There's two of you, where you had some trouble, maybe a problem, right? Okay? Or you can choose a person or persons, people, a setting at work, okay? So the setting is where the story happens, right? And then a conflict that's happening. So some trouble, maybe a problem. Or you can choose a person and then maybe write about an unusual day at work, right? So you can write the story about an unusual day, something that's like not normal. Maybe, there was something that happened, a bus crashed into the building downstairs and there was a whole big commotion about it or something. Who knows, okay? But these will help you to think about maybe descriptive writing, which can be beneficial in your emails when you're trying to describe something, okay? Or you and your partner are going to teach a class for a day. What will you teach and why? And then you will describe what you do in that class. Okay, so maybe you're teaching firearms training for a day or something like that, you know, like whatever it may be. Okay, so you just imagine that you're going to be teaching a class, and then you create a story about what you will be doing in that class. So I'm giving you choices to choose from. So you'll be able to choose in your group.
Matt,
Yes?
is the choose spelling correct?
Ah. No, it's not. That's chose. Thank you for catching that. So, should be OO, not chose. We all make mistakes. Even English professionals like myself make mistakes. So, how we're going about writing it, I want it to be about a page long of the paper that I'm handing out. Today, I'm handing out something like this, but I want to get some lined paper. I forgot to bring some lined paper, so you don't have to write and then like it's writing down as you write. Okay. Hey Danny. But the reason why I'm giving you the unlined paper today is because we're going to do some brainstorming, and it's good to have for doing that sort of thing. Hello. It can be more than a page long. But don't write too much. I don't want you writing a novel, okay? And then try to use something you've learned from this class in it. So whether it's about complaints, or whether it's about apologies, or whether it's about, you know, anything really that you've learned in this class, okay? So it could even be like adding an idiom, right? If you add like an idiom in, that's okay because you learned it in class. Or even if you didn't learn it in class, that's all right. Okay, so you must include an idiom, okay, that you've heard in class, or a new one that you've discovered, okay? And then it needs to be in the first person point of view. Do we know what first person point of view is? No, it's not about present tense. What'd you say? I, yeah, so it's in. Now, the thing is, when we say a sentence is first person, it's saying I, right? But when a story is first person, yes, you're writing in I, but what it means for a story is that it's happening in that person's head. It's not, I'm not saying, one day Nicole was walking to the office, that's second person. I'm telling a story about her. Instead, it would be, oh, you know, I'm in the office today and I wonder what I should do, right? Okay, you can talk about other people in the story, but it's from the point of view of the person in the story, okay? Then you need to be creative, but be appropriate for the setting. I don't mean be appropriate for class, like no jokes that are inappropriate. I don't mean that. I mean appropriate for the setting of the story. So, be appropriate. So if it's happening in a school, then you need to make sure that it's, you're not going to have a dragon flying down and like having something happen. Nothing too fantastical. Try and make it a real, believable story that this could happen, yes, okay? And then you must have a resolution to the story. So you can't just have something that like, oh, I was at work and I was eating lunch and lunch was good, the end. Well, okay, I want it to be interesting. I want you to come up with a conclusion. That's why I want there to be conflict or trouble of some sort in there, because then the person has to solve it. And then it gives you a direction of, okay, this person is in an argument with this person about this topic. How do they solve that problem? And it gives you a direction as to where you can write that story. Right? So things to consider, things to think about while you're writing. Why are you choosing to tell it? Okay. And then why is the conflict or problem happening? So don't just say, I was angry at Dave. Okay, well, why? Don't just say I was angry at, well, you can say, well, I was angry at Dave because, he kept giving me too much work and it wasn't part of my job description, and he always does this to me. It makes me so frustrated, right? That's much more interesting than I was angry at Dave, right? Okay? And then how can you keep the reader's attention, right? You okay? So keeping the reader's attention through description, through action that's happening in the story. Okay? Now, once again, I do not expect these to be like. No, that's okay. Please go get a drink. I do not expect these to be like a novel that will become the bestseller on the New York Times list. I'm not expecting that. I just want you to try and work on your writing, try and getting things down. But then, if something is unusual, why is it unusual? So if you choose that topic to talk about, the unusual thing happening, why is it unusual? And then why is this part of the story important to tell? If it isn't important, do you need to include it? So this is something that you need to think about. But this will be something that you'll be thinking about when we're revising the story. When we start to fix all the grammar problems, when we start to cut out information, if there's unnecessary information, it's best to leave it out. And that kind of works on your skill of figuring out the important information to include, right? So we want to, what's called trim the fat, right? When you cook a big piece of meat, sometimes they cut off some of the fat because people don't want to eat just a big chewy piece of fat, right? Okay, so trimming the fat means that you get to the meat of the story, okay? So here's the list of the topics again, right? So a real event that happened to you, to one of you where you had some trouble, okay? Or choosing, needs an extra O there, okay? Choose a person, setting at work, and a conflict that is happening, okay? Or choose person, or more than one person, and today is an unusual day at work, or you and your partner are going to teach a class for the day. So what are you going to teach, and describe what you will do. Now, today, day one, right? You're going to pair up into writing groups, and those that aren't here, they can pair up, you know, when they come next week. It's okay. You're going to choose your topic. And then we're going to work on brainstorming about your writing for the first 30 to 40 minutes, maybe more. It's okay. I want to see how far you get and see what you're adding to it. So we're going to kind of play it by ear. All right? There's an idiom for you. Play it by ear. Do you know what that means? So it comes from when you play music, play an instrument. There's some people that are really good that they can listen to a song and then they just start playing it, right? So when someone talks about playing it by ear, well, they're just talking about, okay, so if I say it takes 30 to 40 minutes to do this, but then we get to 40 minutes and you're like, we're not finished. Well, then we just keep going. Okay, so it's just kind of, yeah, another way that you can say it is flying by the seat of your pants. That's an interesting one. And what that comes from is in World War I, when they first started using airplanes for battle, like if you're in a dogfight when you're fighting with another airplane back then, sometimes you don't know where the other person is and you're trying to figure out, and you're not really paying attention, and you're flying just by the feeling of the seat of your pants, right? So by feeling where the airplane is, you don't know what's going on. So it's just kind of, we'll take it as it comes. I keep explaining an idiom with an idiom, and then with another idiom, but it's okay. So we'll just see where it goes, okay? And then we're going to, if we figure out all our brainstorming and figure out the story, the basics, idea of the story, then we're going to move to the writing order. So we're going to decide the writing order. So whether you choose to do it in an outline, a list, or doing something different, okay? And then if you get done with this, then we'll move on to starting the writing. Now, if we only get through this, that's fine. If we get to this, that's fine. If we get all the way to here and start writing, well, that's fine too. We'll just see where we get to today, all right? So for brainstorming, ideas for brainstorming, this is good for if you're writing a report or something like that and you're trying to organize your ideas, or you have something to present in English. It's a good way to organize your ideas. Brainstorming, you've all heard that before, right? Okay? Right? Right? Brainstorm. Thinking. So, either making a story map, taking notes, or outlining. Alright? So, with a story map, there's a couple ways that you can do it. But typically what you have is you have a circle in the middle, and this one shows theme, okay? So what is the story about? Well, for here, if you choose, maybe, let's say you choose the one where it's a setting at work and you want conflict in the story. Well, then the theme would be what that conflict is, right? Maybe it's like arguing with my boss every day.
Who did?
Sometimes, if it's needed. But I haven't done it for a long time. I've had good bosses for a long time, so it doesn't happen. Okay? So arguing with my boss every day, right? Okay, so maybe that's the theme. Then it has setting over here, right? So then the setting is where it's happening. Okay? So you can say like HR department. I don't know. Okay, fine. Art department. Does it make you feel better? Okay. And then the characters. Okay, so art department. Well, then Michelle and Anita and me, right? Okay. And then problem. Maybe the problem is, one of the students isn't doing work, but yet I'm being told that I need to allow them to sign up for another class, even though they're lazy and they don't do the work that they should. Something, whatever it is, right? And then the solution, okay? How do we solve this problem? How do we come to an agreement? How do we resolve it, right? So this is one way. The other way of doing mapping, right, doing some mind mapping, is doing something like this, where it's not this neat little square, but what you do is you start to create a map, right? So arguing with my boss every day, and then you can say like setting or where it's happening. So you can say art department, and then you can say maybe ceramics room, and the office. Okay, and then down here with problem, you could be like student is lazy. Okay, and then you could say department chair wants them to be in class. And then maybe over here, the solution, okay, we compromise on something. So you see how this is working, right? You have the main idea, a smaller idea, and then even smaller ideas related to those, right? Okay, so this is another mind map that you can do. The other one is just taking notes. There's no right or wrong way to take notes. If you have your own personal way to organize your ideas, use that. Because if it works for you, it works for you. I'm not going to tell you, you need to do it this way, you need to do it that way. If you have your own way of organizing, that's fine. It might not work. Maybe I look at it and I'm just like, I don't follow where your ideas go, but if you know where they go, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. And that goes for all of this. Or you can do outlining, right? So this has like a story outline. So this is a little bit different. But breaks down like, okay, in the introduction, and it's talking, this posts these up where it says whistle. Well, the whistle just means how do I get your attention, right? Because most of the time, if someone's going like, you're gonna be like, huh, what? Okay, so the whistle just means how do I get someone's attention? Who? So if you just start a story where it's, oh, I was really upset and blah, 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 and then they started yelling at me, well, who started yelling at you? We don't know these people, so you need to introduce them, okay? What's going on? You need to be descriptive in that. When was it happening? Well, sometimes you need to include that, sometimes you don't. I was really tired this morning, and I was just drinking my first cup of coffee when my boss walked up to me. It already sets up, like, this feeling of, like, right? Okay? So think about those things for the introduction. Body, horse. So happens, opinions, actions, reactions, say, speak, emotions, show, don't tell. So what that is saying is that in the body of a story, you want to make sure that you're giving them the experience where it's not just being very vague. You want to add adjectives, you want to add actions, you want to add color to the story, right? Painting with words. Okay, and then the conclusion. Okay, so how did it happen? Now this, I don't really understand what they mean, like feelings, all that for conclusion. But for conclusion, how is it resolved? Show that it gets resolved. Don't just say, and we agreed to it, and ever since then, work has been great. Well, how? How did you agree to it? What did you agree on? So you need to talk about it and show how the problem gets resolved. Don't just say that it got resolved.
It's just my body.
Yeah, I had a very busy break. I have an exhibition opening tomorrow. Or no, not tomorrow, Saturday. And then I have another one opening in 2 weeks in English. And then I'm going to have another one in April. And then I have a bunch of other stuff that I'm doing. I'm now the artistic director at the studio I work at up in Yangmingshan.
Wow.
So I am developing all their program, not their program, but their class curriculum. So what the kids are going to be learning in the classes, what the adults are going to be learning in the classes. Trying to get artists to come, trying to get more students. So if you want to take any ceramics classes, come on up to Yangmingshan. It's right near Wenhua Dashi. So you know where like all those cafes
Mhm.
are? So you know TES has their sports
Yes.
thing up there?
Mhm.
So there's like the cafes, and then next to that there's the TES like PE, like the Yundong. Yeah, and then across the street from that there's a place called URS 27M, and we're a part of that. So we're in the back of it. So, but if you ever get a chance, you go up there on the weekends. I'm teaching classes now on Saturdays and Sundays, so I'll be there on Saturdays, Sundays. If you stop by, I'll probably be in the studio. You can stop in and be like, hello, and I'll be like, hi, and I'll just go back to working with all the kids and everything. But yeah, come on up. But yeah, so I'll see you next week.
Yes.
All right. Have a good one. Welcome back. Even though you don't want to be here, Danny. Welcome back. Not as boring as English class. Although I try my best to make English class fun.
By the way, they provide you a paper you can use